You take a full grip, your forearms can't help but flex a lot, and that's not a big deal, but it can take away some of the mind-muscle connection going to your lats.
Don't let your grip be the reason why you can't finish. The set. You know what I'm talking about. Get your mind out of the gutter. Coach Greg, in today's video, we're ranking every exercise from best to worst, and we're going to do so with Jeff Nippard taking on none other than Jesse James West.
This exercise is a complete waste of time.
What? And oddly enough, the introduction, I love it because the front delt raise, I absolutely believe, unless you're the bushwhackers, WWE wrestlers in the 80s, complete waste of time. I see people doing it all the time, training the anterior delt. You don't need to. It's already going to be overdeveloped. Please train the side and rear delts only.
So we're obviously going to start off with deadlifts today. Should be nice and easy.
A leg exercise?
Back exercise.
The deadlift is going to train hamstrings, glutes, quite a bit of quads.
And first things first, let's start off with the deadlift, the king of all back exercises, right? Wrong. The deadlift actually trains and works out more muscles in your legs than it does in your back. Just think of it. Imagine yourself doing a squat. You got the bar on your back, your legs are perhaps shoulder width apart, and you go down and you do a squat. Now, pretend you're doing a deadlift. Simply lower your arms and grab a bar. What are you now doing? You're literally doing a squat. Only thing is, you're now lifting the weight off the floor rather than squatting the weight on your back. And so, by definition, you're literally training your legs. Of course, you're also training your back, but a lot of it is going to be working your legs. And so if you really want to just train your back, do you really think that the deadlift is going to be the best exercise? I don't think so. Now, overall, is it a great exercise? Absolutely, because it trains your entire body. But if all you're trying to do is focus on your back, I don't think deadlifts are the way to go. Case in point, I no longer deadlift. I used to as a powerlifter and a bodybuilder, but now that I'm racing bikes, I see no reason for me to deadlift. It causes a lot of cumulative fatigue. It's very demanding, and if I'm racing bikes and sprinting, also doing squats, leg presses, and so on, it can overload and overtrain the body.
I'm just kidding. Let's start with pull downs.
Pull downs. That's a better exercise?
For the mid back and lat, it's better in the sense that it's not going to also really tax your lower body.
And so when training my back, one of the main exercises I do is going to be some form of a pull down. Whether it's chin-ups or a pull down, it doesn't matter. You need to be pulling from up to down. If you do that, you've got half your back complete. The other exercise you're going to need is going to be pulling from front to back. And so two movements that are a must are going to be the lat pull downs of some sort, as well as some form of a row. If you do those two exercises for your back, the majority of your back is going to be trained harder than last time.
Don't try to make it look pretty for me.
Well, first I gotta, ego lift it.
Naturally. Lift how you normally would.
I think this is how I know.
And so Jesse James and I, years ago, we met up for the first time, and I remember this. When we were doing lat pull downs, he had no control. He pulls the weight down with a lot of force and doesn't control the weight on the way up. In other words, he doesn't control the eccentric or the negative. You should be lowering the weight twice as slow as you pull it down. Jesse James, he kind of just swings up and down. He's very strong, give him that, but he doesn't control the negative. And by not controlling the negative, he's not using as much tut, time under tension, and with less tut comes less muscle hypertrophy. And so Jeff Nippard says, are you serious? Is this actually how you lift? No, I want you to show me how you actually lift, not for the camera. This is how Jesse James actually lifts. And so what he's doing is he's ego lifting. The weight is too heavy. He doesn't have control. He can't lift it with great form. And so by lightening the weight and controlling the weight, he can build more muscle than last time.
So what you want to do is think about your lats pulling apart on the negative. It doesn't have to be slow, but it does have to be controlled.
Okay.
The negative is more important than the positive.
And so a great way to put it, the negative is more important than the positive. That means the eccentric is a better way to grow muscle than the concentric. Deliberately allow the weight to go back, and if you do so, you're going to build muscle better than ever before.
One of the things that I think Sam Sulek got really right is on the pull downs, after he can't get the bar to his chest, he'll continue to extend the set with long length partial reps.
And so because the lat pull down, it's very difficult to pull the bar down the last 6 inches, you need to go beyond failure. If you simply stop the exercise before you can't pull the weight down anymore, you're going to not feel fatigued. It's too easy. And so this is an exercise where even if you're a beginner intermediate lifter, you can go to failure and or beyond. It's one of the exceptions. Go as many reps as you can. Perhaps it's to 10. You can't get it all the way down anymore. Doesn't matter. You keep going. Perhaps you only go 3/4 of the way down. That's okay. You're going to build more muscle. You're going to actually get the muscle fatigue. And so please work your lat pull downs harder than ever before.
What would you, on a tier list, where would you put lat pull downs with my current form?
B.
And so Jeff, nicer than last time, gives him a B. How could he give him a B? He did almost everything wrong, but yet he still gives him a B. Would have gave him a C. Most people's form on lat pull downs better than Jesse James. So how are we giving him a B?
That's some natty lats right there. Do you believe I'm natty?
I do. I believe you.
Then you're an idiot.
Just as when Jeff Nippard met up with Will Tennyson doing a very similar video, the topic of natty or not comes up. Jesse James, are you natural? Yes, I'm natural, 100% natural. And I do believe that Will Tennyson, Jesse James, and Jeff Nippard are all 100% natural.
The other thing you can do is actually take a false grip, so a suicide grip. When you take a full grip, your forearms can't help but flex a lot, and that's not a big deal, but it can take away some of the mind-muscle connection going to your lat.
And also things to consider for perhaps the advanced lifters, you can use a false grip, your thumbs on top of the bar, as well as if you have a fatiguing grip, it's perfectly okay to use wrist straps. Many people don't feel comfortable using wrist straps. They think, I need to get a stronger grip. Why? If you're failing because your grip isn't strong enough, then you need to use wrist straps. Don't let your grip be the reason why you can't finish. The set. You know what I'm talking about. Get your mind out of the gutter. And if your mind did get in the gutter, please consider using harder than last time for the downstairs. Not for your grip, for something else. Code Greg, 15% off.
I think we should do a close grip row.
So this is where context comes into play. If you're doing it as a lat-focused row, I think you can make it S tier.
And next up, for your back, as I said, you need to do some kind of a rowing motion. The T-bar row, love this exercise. I like rowing exercises that don't require me to use my lower back. For example, I don't like doing bent rows. I don't like doing seated rows. But a chest-supported seated row, love it. T-bar row, love it as well. And so if you're like me, you perhaps have an L4, L5 herniated disc or any kind of lower back problems, you want to do exercise like this to minimize the risk to your lower back.
What we want to do is really focus on squeezing your mid-traps together.
Got it.
So you were doing that well.
Yeah.
What you didn't do quite as well is pull them apart on the negative.
And so when doing this exercise, the most important things you need to do is to stretch and to squeeze. How many times have you heard those cues before? And so on the way down, you stretch. Really allow yourself to stretch the lats. And on the way up, you squeeze. Many people are ego lifting in the gym and they're not going to go all the way up. They're swinging the weight. They put 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 plates for no reason. Lighten the load, get the stretch, and squeeze.
You can actually still do a lot more work with your back if you weren't to do a full row. So all you're going to do is kind of a horizontal shrug.
Okay.
So you're going to shrug like this.
And at the end, I've been doing this for years, approximately 13 years to do this. I was doing this as I was training for my BB Pro card. When I would reach failure on the T-bar set, I would then do 5 reps of shrugs. When you get to failure, you can't go up anymore. Rather than ending your set, continue with 5 more reps. And so what I like to do on my hardest set, I get as many stretch and squeezes as I can. When I can't get the full way up, I perhaps go half the way up. And when I can't do that, I'll simply shrug the weight up as Jeff Nippard is describing in this video. And so by adding in all these cues, the stretch, the squeeze, the partials, the shrugs, you can turn this exercise into an S tier, which makes it more effective than last time.
Up next, we have Jeff's pick. That's whatever you think is S tier plus plus.
I can give you a S double plus. This is called a crossbody lat pull around.
Now up next, the crossbody lat pull around. Now when I see an exercise that you have to do one arm and then the other, it automatically is not S tier anymore. I'm sorry, I disagree. Remember, this is Jeff Nippard's opinion. Just because Jeff says so doesn't mean it has to be S tier. And just because I don't think it's S tier doesn't mean it isn't. We all have our own opinions. I hate doing one arm and then the other. It's hard enough for me to push harder than last time when I'm doing both arms at the same time. If I have to do it with one arm, go all out, put all my intensity in for 40 seconds, then do it again on the other side, and then repeat is too much. So I despise these exercises. But hey, if you like it, you go for it. For me, I'm not doing it. it. But if you like it, well, that's your prerogative. If I have to start doing one limb at a time, my left arm, then my right, my left leg, then my right, I'm going to be in there forever. And so I much prefer to train both limbs at the same time.
You can get to S tier without my help. I really want you to try on this one, okay?
Listen,
so we're gonna do
I got this.
A reverse cable fly for the rear delts.
And so up next, reverse cable fly for the rear delts. This is an often neglected muscle group, and so very good to add this to your program because many people are not training this muscle nearly enough.
Yeah.
What the hell?
You stopped around here, whereas you'll get a stronger rear delt contraction if you go to here.
And so what's important to remember for this exercise is to not go heavy. You need to go all the way back. Many people are going to put too much weight. They're not going to get full contraction. And so if you lighten the weight, full contraction, and consider that you're trying to sweep out all the money. You're a swimmer. Perhaps you're doing the breaststroke, you're trying to get as much water as possible. Dr. Mike Israetel says you have to collect all the money. And so reach outwards and beyond, sweep out all the money. Or if you're a swimmer, as Coach Greg was, perhaps do the breaststroke.
The most popular exercise of all biceps, alternating dumbbell curl. So Jeff, you gotta let me know, how am I looking?
Well, you're looking S tier, but your exercise selection is C or B tier.
And up next for the bicep, Jesse chooses to do alternate dumbbell curls. Jeff says, hey, your form is amazing, S tier, but it's a C tier exercise. It's not gonna build nearly as much muscle as other exercises. And why? Because there's not much muscle stimulus at the bottom. When you're at the bottom of a bicep curl, the weight is being pulled down. There's no stimulus on the bicep. And so it's not that great of an exercise. But here's the thing. It actually is. Just because there's no stress at the bottom of the exercise doesn't mean it's only give you a C tier of development. When you give it a C, it makes it sound like it doesn't really work that well. That if that's all you did, you'd only develop a C level of muscle compared to a B, an A, or an S. I'm telling you, although you don't have the stretch at the bottom, and if you grab cables and you start like this, there's going to be more stretch at the bottom. Yeah, I give you that. Perhaps it's slightly better exercise, but it's not a C. And so I would say, hey, it's a B+. It's not perfect, but if you enjoy the exercise and you can go harder than last time, it's going to give you the muscle that you need. What do? I do these exercises all the time. I love dumbbell curls. And when I go and do these dumbbell curls, I go to failure. And when I go to failure, I can't get it all the way up. And what do? I go at the bottom. And so I'm still getting that stimulus at the bottom of the exercise because I can hardly move it. If I'm doing 10 reps like this, and after 10, I can't get the way up, and I only go to here, I'm still working the bottom. And if you lift in control with dumbbells or barbells and you lean slightly forward, you're going to get that stimulus. Lean slightly forward and flex. You're going to get some stimulus right at the bottom. If your elbows are not to the side and they're slightly in front of you, you're going to get stimulus at the bottom. Now, when I'm in the gym doing biceps, I essentially do what I want, whatever I'm in the mood for. Sometimes it's dumbbells, sometimes it's a barbell, sometimes it's preacher curls. I pick whatever I want. As long as you're pushing hard, you're training to failure, you're getting a pump, it's going to work. It's biceps. We don't need to overcomplicate things.
When it comes to legs, I feel like we all can agree that we're gonna squat, we're gonna leg press, we're gonna leg extension. If you're feeling frisky, maybe you'll do hammies, but like I feel like that's the main thing that everyone will do.
Up next, the legs. Whether or not you do the squats or the leg press, both are great exercise for the legs. You don't have to do both. Many people are doing both. To me, I see nothing wrong with that. When you do the squats, there's an extra strain on the lower back. So again, remember, if you have lower back problems, you might have to be careful. If you do have lower back problems, you can do both. You could do fewer sets on the squats and then finish off with your leg press.
Do you think that that is sufficient?
No, there wasn't enough hamstrings, and I think it was redundant on quads.
And in my opinion, they absolutely do not do the same thing whatsoever. Try doing a set of squats after you've only been training for the leg press for a while. Completely different feeling. When I do squats, I feel an amazing stretch and pump in the hamstrings. My hamstrings get sore for days. I rarely train my hamstrings, but I don't have to. I have very good genetics for hamstrings, arguably my best body part without even training them. Now, when you do in fact perform the squats, you can wear a belt. It's not going to hurt you. There's no problem with that. And try to go and squat to parallel.
Are we doing leg press?
No.
If I was to do leg press next, where would it be tiered?
I think you start to risk running into junk volume territory, and so I would have to put it in this context, maybe C tier.
I believe the leg press is S tier for the legs. If you have any kind of back pains or problems, perhaps you know this, you've tried this, you can't do the squats and you do the leg press, and it's a staple in your leg development. I love both. I love doing squats. I love doing leg press. Unfortunately, my hips don't allow me to do squats as much as I once could. I would love to be able to do squats all the time, but if I do the squats, it hurts my hips. And so for me, the squat is not S tier. Even though it's an S tier exercise, it's not for me. And so based on your anthropometric measurements, depending on your limb lengths and so on, you may be better at squats or better at leg press. And so in the end, the choice is yours. Pick the one that you want or do them both.
So we just hammered the quads and glutes with this. Next, we're gonna do hamstrings and glutes.
And so in Jeff's opinion, the squats primarily train the quads and the glutes. I'm not gonna debate that, but I'm telling you for me, and I know this for me because I've been training for over 30 years. When I'm training squats, it immensely is training my hamstrings. You can't debate me. I feel it. I know it. But for other people, maybe it doesn't. And so if you are in fact training legs and you have weak hamstrings and you're only doing the squats, you're probably going to have to focus next on your hamstrings. For me, I don't have to. I rarely train hamstrings. It's one of my best body parts. And so when I do the leg press or the squats and so on, it's still training my hamstrings.
We have around 10 studies showing longer muscle lengths is better than shorter muscle lengths. And we have around 5 studies showing that longer muscle lengths beats full range of motion about 80% of the time.
And so of all the hamstring exercises, I'm fast forwarding to what I believe is the best, and at least for me, it's going to be the seated leg curl. You're sitting up and you're curling the pad to your glutes. You can do a lying down hamstring curl, I believe almost as good as a seated curl, but for me, I like the seated leg curl.
So on this one, you want to do the opposite, right? I mean, you want to be as far forward as you
Really?
can get. Yes, because then you're going to get more stretch in your hamstring.
Put the seat to the front, lean forward. It's going to give you more stretch at the beginning, and with more stretch, you're going through more range of motion, more muscle.
Would you say certain machines are just better for building muscle then?
And so one of the questions Jesse asked, which is a great question, is do you think that machines are better at building muscle or free weights? The answer is it doesn't matter. The body does not know if it's a free weight or a machine. It only knows what are you lifting and what range of motion you're going through. It knows if you're putting in effort or if you're not. And so whether or not you choose to do machines or free weights, decide what is the movement pattern that you're doing. How is the bar moving with what weight and how hard are you pushing yourself? How long is the muscle being activated?
Jeff's pick. What do we got?
This is a reverse Nordic. A reverse Nordic is the reverse of that.
You go backwards.
You go backwards. Now
Oh
look at the stretch on my
knees.
quads.
And up next, an exercise I've never seen before, and so I'm going to include it here. It looks like a lot of fun, looks very challenging. Why not mix it up? But hey, it could also be applying to the bedroom, and if you need more variety and you can't... Harder than last time. Code Greg 15% off. Click the link in description. And so this exercise, it does look very difficult. I'm sure you need to have a certain level of flexibility. You want to have a soft pad for your knees to lean on. And so some of these exercises, they are in fact more difficult than last time. And so please, I caution you, don't jump into this and think you can do it on your first try. You have to ease yourself into it. Just like... yeah, we're not going there.
I find a lot of people just like to sit down. So
Take
sit
it
down
easy.
in a leg press and do toe presses. The most common mistake that most people make here is going all the way up onto their toes.
And so new tip for calves, you don't actually have to push all the way up. Oftentimes people think you really have to push on your toes and go all the way up to the top, but the new studies, science showing you don't have to do that. The long range partials is key when doing calf raises. I remember years ago, Jeff was saying you hold the stretch position for about 30 seconds at the end of your set, really build that lactic acid, that drives more muscle. And so you can see, you don't have to go through the full range of motion on every exercise. In the calf raise in particular, you can go to a certain point and usually you notice it's a sticking point and then you kind of just push off. You know that feeling? Am I the only one that experiences this? I think most people do. You can get to that point and you can go back down. Get more reps, drive more force, keep going, get the time under tension higher, get that lactic acid burn, and you will bring more muscle development to your calves.
The bench press is a S-tier strength and hypertrophy movement.
And so Jeff says the bench press is S tier for both size and strength. The exact opposite of Eric Janicki. Eric Janicki believes the bench press is almost useless. He doesn't do it. He believes there are so many other better exercises. I'm with Jeff. I love the bench press. I think it's a great exercise. However, be very careful. Don't ego lift. Don't tear a pec.
I can bench 405.
Really?
No.
Time to up the dose.
What'd I tell you?
And so a little sus, perhaps anyone with more muscle or who can outlift Jeff Nippard, Jeff feels is perhaps not natural. But in all seriousness, I don't think that Jeff thinks that Jesse is a fake natty. Although if you see Jesse for the first time and you're not sure, most people I think would believe that he's not a natural athlete. And the reason for that, because he has an amazing physique. For the most part, people that look like this are probably not natural. And so please don't compare yourself to Jesse, Jeff Nippard, or Will Tennyson. Now, if you're in your 20s, you're not a teenager, trying to gain more muscle than last time while staying natural, rather than using performance-enhancing drugs, why not try GO2 Max, Ecti Builder, and Turk Builder? These can make a significant difference in your training, more energy, endurance, build more muscle more quickly, and so why not give it a try? Code Greg, 15% off. Click the link in the description.
The biggest thing that I felt was the travel of energy from toe to bar.
That's it. That's what you want.
And I like that cue, the travel of energy from toe to bar. When you're doing the bench press, you have to drive your feet into the floor. You drive your feet in the floor, transfers energy into the pad. You have your shoulders pressed into the pad and you drive back. The bar is moving slightly backwards as you're pressing it up. You pause the weight on your chest. You don't bounce it so that you prevent injuries, and you simply perform the reps until failure.
I'm not so big on the contraction these days because we've got so much research now showing that the stretch is more important.
If the contraction doesn't matter as much, can we just not do it?
And so another great question is brought up. What is more important, the stretch or the squeeze? Great question. I'd never thought that before. The answer seems to be they're not 100% sure, but they do believe that probably the stretch is more important. After all, the new research says that long-range partials, so for example, partials in the stretch position, are more effective than partials at the end. And so does it not make more sense to really focus on the stretch? And of course, you still want to squeeze, but always get that stretch. Many people, they forget the stretch. They don't go all the way down in the bench press. They don't squeeze the weight. And why are they doing that? It's their egos. The less you stretch, the less you go down, the heavier the weight can be. For example, you're doing a squat. You go halfway down. You're lifting 3 plates. You go all the way down. You're lifting 2. And so what do? You put on 4 plates. Can you do quarter squats? That's what I see people doing in the gym. And so rather than that, leave your egos at the door, lighten the weights, go through the full range of motion. Don't worry about trying to impress people, seeing how much weight you can lift, and really stretch the weight. I know that when I was younger, I was ego lifting. And when I lift in the gym right now, I'm using about 50% of the weights that I once used. I really stretch. I go down further than last time. I'm pausing, I'm stretching, and I am in fact squeezing as well. Why limit yourself? Just because the stretch may in fact be more important than the squeeze, why not do both? Stretch and squeeze harder than last time. Take your time, don't ego in the lift, and maximize your gains while also using harder than last time supplements. Code Greg, 15% off. And of course, you've got the Seco protein bars. That combined with my Circle diet book, as well as my cookbook, whether it's in the PDF or hard copy, going to give you the best chance of staying lean 365 days a year. It's not about bulking and cutting. It's about remaining at a healthy weight year round. Subscribe and click the bell button, comment to boost the algorithm, like the video if you liked it, add a comment, please. Also watch one of those 2 videos. And of course, if you want the cookbooks, training books, coaching plans by me and my team, the Harder Than Last Time clothing line. And if you have no money, get the free diet and training program. It's close to 50 pages. Become part of the 300,000 plus newsletter subscribers. And until next time, I am out.